Welcome back to Running with Coach Tori.
And Jeff.
And we are bringing you the running news from the week, whether it's to entertain you on your long run or to give you something to talk about with your running group. We are actually almost giving you topical running news for the week. We are not super behind this week, so we are like really on it, even though this is take 2 for this episode. But I feel like we just got to get right into it because we already started talking before we were recording, so I know we wanted to save some enthusiasm, but yeah, should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's jump into it. You want to start with Faith Kipyegon?
I do. Breaking4. What you don't know, actually, when we were trying to record the first time after you were having issues on your end, I was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and record all of my thoughts in case you came back, and then it would have been like, okay, well, we have my thoughts, then we'll go with your thoughts, which was like a mistake because now I'm like, they're all gone. All those thoughts, all that energy. It's out of here. But no, from my memory now, because as time just ticks away, it all just ticks away. But incredible. And as we had already talked about, I was super excited about Breaking4. I'd said before that I needed you to remind me to get on and watch it, but you know, Breaking4 Day happens, and I'm like, we got it on. We got the live coverage. We watched a little bit of the first hour before she actually run. But, you know, I'm like texting everybody, like, are you watching? I'm sending it to people who are not runners. Like, if you understand sports, this is going to be incredible. And it really was. I mean, like, energy is unmatched. She's amazing to watch. They put on a great production. Just like really exciting, right? Like, different stakes than a normal race, right? Because you're watching to see who wins usually. And you're just like watching to see if someone's running the fastest ever. It just is definitely exciting. And the first time I watched it, so I ended up watching it twice that day. The first time I watched it, like, didn't even have that like bummer moment, right? It just was like, still was amazing. She still went for it. And like, wow, look at her being so positive after the fact too. It must be hard. Second time around, it kind of was a little more like, still amazing. I'm still like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, wasn't it awesome? And then a little more, you're like, oh, that really is such a bummer. And then after that, you kind of start sitting and processing. I'm like, now like numbers are starting to fly through my head. I'm like, wow, it felt really far off, and just like not what I expected, I guess. But that was like my initial reaction. And then I like started to have more and more, but let's just get your thoughts first.
Yeah. I love her. I think she's absolutely probably the best women's runner of our generation. So yeah, I think she's amazing. I feel like Nike did her dirty a little bit. It wasn't like her world record setting performance was, not ideal, right? Like maybe she, it wasn't like she ran a very slow first lap and then, made it up in the second 2 laps where there was a lot of room for improvement. I mean, she was spot on in that world record run that she did do, the 4:07 run. So I thought, between the shorts and the Pacers, it seemed like, man, they're asking for a lot. We talked about it before, right? The men, it took 20 years for them to take 7 seconds off the world record. And maybe the women's mile hasn't been the same focus that the men's mile was, just because of the timing. Now the 1,500 meter is much more of what's run versus the mile. But anyway, I thought they did her a little bit of a disservice. It's a lot of pressure, but I'll also give them some kudos that they focused on a female athlete. They don't get as much love as they should, and she, more than anyone, probably is as deserving as anybody. So I did feel bad for her. I did think they put on a nice positive spin on it, but it was. I have to feel like it was a little bit disappointing for her and for everyone that she wasn't able to get a little bit better, a little bit closer to the 4 minutes. So, yeah, that's my reaction to it. I mean, we can look at real quickly at the splits if you've got a second.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I thought that was a little bit telling. So in her world record performance, so the 4:07 official world record, she really ran pretty consistent. 102.6, 102, 102.2, and then 1 minute and .84. So That's your 4:07.64, and her last lap was her fastest lap. And as you probably know, right, it's 400 meters, 400 meters, 400 meters, and then 409 meters to get to the full mile distance. So the last split is actually longer, even though it's her fastest lap. Um, Now compare that to what she did for the Nike project. It was 1 minute, 1 minute, 0.55, 101, and then 104.58. So she really slowed down. So that doesn't feel, you know how that is, right? She's struggling in lap three. You can start to see it. She's coming off the 1 minute and 1 minute two splits to down 101. So she's starting to lose it, and she lost it a lot more in that fourth lap. Um, and I think she would have had a much better time if she had gone out with the 101. That 1 second can make a big difference in how much energy you have and how you feel going into that final lap. So that was my reaction. I don't know about how you feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because she just like is so incredible. So I'm watching her and I'm thinking like, ooh, that she went out fast, right? But I'm also like, she looks good. You know what I mean? Like maybe it is fine, and like that's just how you're gonna have to play it to get to that number. Um, because she really did look really good, really comfortable until you're into lap three, and then I mean lap four, you really could just see her like ventilating, and you see the arms start to really like the form didn't fall apart, but like you do see a difference in the way she's running. And yes, you can definitely be like, okay, so that was too fast. And like you had said, I think you had sent it to me, like it was hot that day. And I don't know if they had planned that it was going to be like, they were like, oh, we knew it was going to be in the 70s, but like, that's hot.
Yeah, 77. That's toasty for a
Right.
really hard run.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, it's just like another thing that like you can't control the weather unless they could, and like they were doing something different with, running it inside or whatever. So, yeah, I think if she does it again, I would be interested to see what, if anything, is done differently, or if it's just like we're going for it again. Um, because I had also read, and I don't remember if we had talked about this or if this was just after, your computer booted you, but like I think it was Steve Magnus, and I'm sure other people had said it as well, that like they had done, someone's done studies that like the pacers are really only going to help you with like about 2 seconds. They're going to help drop 2 seconds. So then it's like, okay, so the rest of that should have been up to the technology that she's wearing, and or whatever the training is, because like bicarb's been done. I'm not sure if there was like even anything else that was talked about, because I know you'd seen more than I had seen. And yeah, I mean like the spikes, like I didn't look that much into it, but like it doesn't seem like that was anything really that crazy. The outfit she wore, I mean, right, we're looking at fractions of differences. So I also think that was another thing of like with the marathon when they did Breaking 2, like those super shoes were like the newest thing that was making a big difference. You have all that time that now like those small fractions of amounts of time that it's saving you energy, like it is adding up because you have those 2 hours. So yeah, I mean it really, I was kind of also hoping to see like, again, I don't know what it would have been, but like I don't know if there's like energy return in her shirt or something. You know what I mean? Like I thought they were gonna come out with something
Yeah,
fancier because, like you
they,
said,
they,
it's a big gap.
yeah, huge gap. And I mean, I think what I've read afterwards, it's just been like those things like the pacers and the aerodynamic, how much the drag there is from the wind, and her outfit that had these little like bumps on them, like to help prevent the drag from sort of grabbing you.
Oh.
These things that they're fractions of a second, and I don't know. It just felt like, and again, I mean, if you're going to break the 4 minutes, you got to go out and do the first lap in 1 minute, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
really don't have the option to say, well, let me just go out in 101.
Right.
I do think she would have run a faster race overall if she had gone out a little slower,
Yeah.
but that wouldn't have gotten her to 4 minutes. So I get it.
Right.
So I'm just a little salty about the fact that the best runner of our time, you know, it felt like a failure, and it shouldn't have to me. I mean, again, you know, she didn't fail. I think we set her up for failure. So that's a good segue to the first article I sent over to you. So, um, someone, this guy, this is a famous race legendary pacer, Martin Keno. Uh,
Okay.
he's legendary pacer,
Okay.
legendary pacer.
I
Anyway,
will I will take your word for it. Didn't
yeah.
know that
So
existed.
yeah, no. So and again, I'm not going to. I'm throwing any shade on this guy, but anyway, he's part of he's his articles around why she missed the 4 minute mile, and he's got sort of 7 reasons. Number one, a monumental leap in time. So, and we've talked a little bit about this. It's hey, to go from 4 to 407. I'm sorry, 407 down to 4. It's just too much, too fast. And it's not like this hasn't been a distance that's been tested by women. This is, Faith has run this before. She ran it almost ideally in that one that we referenced the splits for, and she looked, absolutely phenomenal in that 407 race. Human limits are real. I'm not sure that's why she would have
Rude.
failed, right? That's a true statement. Human limits are real. Um, you know, he just references her speed in the 800, which is
Mm-hmm.
a 150, basically a 158.
Okay.
So you're talking about even if an all-out 800, if it's 158, that doesn't give you a lot to play with. You'd be exhausted after an 800 and still have to do another 800. That's
Yeah, I was
that's
seeing
tough.
that it would need to be closer to like a 153 is
Yeah.
like what they often are. Is that what this article says, comparing it to like the men who run sub four usually have like a 153, 800?
They didn't give us that number, but I
Okay.
did read that in a different article previously. So yeah, same thing.
Okay.
You just need to have that kind of raw speed,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so that may be part of it. Even though again, she may be the best miler of our time, she may not be the best 800 meter of our time. And one of the scientists was saying that maybe the last one of the ones we referenced before was saying that ideally what you would do is get a great 800-meter person in the future and stretch out their endurance to where they can do a mile at a similar pace with a little bit of drop off. Right? Obviously, you couldn't do it at the same pace, but that's probably the ideally from a science standpoint the way you would go to get the perfect mile.
Okay. Makes sense.
Um, Pacing isn't a plug and play, is his third reason. Basically saying that, this pacing concept it can benefit you. He's also referring to the drag that's caused by the wind and the aerodynamics, but that, these subtle movements, there was like 7 of these pacers you saw, right? There's a bunch of people trying to keep it pretty tight, but they're not like right on her, and so there's a lot of air resistance that still gets in there. So he referenced that to saying it, for a mile, that's hard to do. It's hard to get, a really tight formation to block the wind. Like the Breaking 2, that was a much tighter formation, right? Where you saw them almost like leading him in a V,
Mm-hmm.
where he was sort of like the goose behind him running. So, um, number 4 was marginal gains make the difference. Um, that one's a little, again, some of these are a little bit generic. That these things, you have to have perfect conditions, perfect, like we talked about the weather. That probably wasn't ideal. Um,
Right.
you have to have the perfect nutrition going into it. You have to have the perfect hydration. You have to have maybe the perfect psychological, mindset. So there's probably, let's just say there's 20 variables, and to put it all in one day, to have all those variables go the proper way to get the absolute ideal and perfect performance, hard to believe you can do that and control those conditions. Um, Training has to mirror the goal is the other thing. That's really more around just practicing all of this stuff at that same race pace. I don't know. There's much more in that one. That was a little bit generic. Um, Tech helps, but only so much. This is the one
Mm-hmm.
he was saying. Hey, for 1,600 meters, like things like shoes and the suit, the male pacers and all those things just don't. They're not going to give you a lot. Um, Race rust is real. She only had one race in 2025. What he said here is a 1,000 meter effort. Um, so that's what we get back to about if you were to run maybe the mile once a month in a race condition, then maybe one of those 7 or 8 times you did it, you would get the ideal conditions, and it's hard to say which one would be the one.
Mm-hmm.
So to do it all on one event was a little bit tough. Um, so that was really the 7 reasons he gave. Again, he's legendary, so I'll give him his due. These guy's probably more famous than I know. Probably everyone knows who this guy is.
I don't, but I mean, some good points and some basic points for sure. Did you want to pivot to the pre-classic, or do
Yes.
you have more to say?
No, I have no more to say. As you can tell, I was just even saying a lot that wasn't really saying a lot. So no, let's go to pre right now, because if you didn't feel great, sorry, I didn't feel great about the 4 minute effort that was put out there, and her effort was phenomenal. But the whole Nike marketing thing, she delivered at the pre-classic. I was a little disappointed in one area, and that is men got to run a mile. Women
Oh,
got to run a 1,500 meters. I don't know why
why?
they don't have a pre-mile for women, but they do only have a pre-mile for men. Sexism. It's just that's
Um, Also, I mean, I would have to do some math, which I'm not really doing, but I feel like if it was a 1600, she would have
she
maybe
wouldn't have
even
broke
beat her
she wouldn't have
406.
broken 4 minutes. No,
No, not 4
no.
minutes. No, I tried that too, and I was like, oh, she would have had to run like a 12-second, but she would have probably beaten her even her 406. No, like
I
possibly.
think she would have. I didn't do the math either, but
So it'd been like 18 seconds. She can do better than an 18-second
yeah,
100. You think?
yeah. Because if you break it down, right, a 4 minute mile equates to a 15-second 100 meters.
Okay.
So every 100 meters is 15 seconds. So if she's running a 1,500, she's got to go. She got to go another 109 meters, and each 10 meters is what 1.5 seconds. So to go an extra 110 meters, I give her one meter leeway, would be 15 plus 1.5. It'd be 16 and a half seconds. That's my quick math right there. So if you had 16 and a half seconds to what she just ran, you would get her mile time.
So like 404, 405.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'll
Quick
take it.
math. You get the math award today because I didn't have her actual time. I had it on before I called, before I did this call, but with my rebooting and everything else, I left it off. So
Yeah. No, amazing. And you watched it, right? I didn't watch.
yeah. So for anyone who doesn't even have any idea what we're talking about, so
Oh,
what I
right.
took you
Sorry.
down was in the women's 1,500 meters for the pre-classic, which was run today. Today, not today, the day you're listening to this podcast.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so and she blew away the field. Jessica Hull was with her for a long way. The two of them were sort of had pulled away a bit, but Faith looked phenomenal. She looked very much like she did when I just referenced in her mile world record run, where she was strong for the first 3 laps, but people were with her. And she just turned it on in that last lap and dropped Jessica Hull, and really won by 3 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds, which is a lot on the track. And then everyone else was well behind that. Nikki Hills was in it. I know you're a big
Yeah.
fan of her. She was in there. I think she may have finished fourth or fifth, but pretty far back, maybe 6, 7 seconds back. But yeah, it was a world record for Faith in the 1,500 meters. Phenomenal.
I'll have to go back and watch a replay. Any other notable performances as of yet, or no, that you know of? Nothing?
Yeah, there was another. The 5,000 woman broke, and I'm Chariot. I'm actually no, that's the male runner. I don't know what. Um, Shabbat. Yeah,
Maybe?
yeah.
I don't know, because I don't even know who was running.
Yeah. So she broke the women's 5,000. This is like shows my little bit of my lack of pronunciation and knowledge of all these women runners. But yeah, Kenyan runner, set the world record in the 5,000 meters.
Wow.
I think that was the only two world records that were set. So that's the update there. But yeah, do go back and watch the 1,500 meter with Faith, and
Mm-hmm.
watch it afterwards too. The celebration was phenomenal. Everyone was
Good.
thrilled, and she was jumping around. It looked like pure joy.
Yeah. Well, and are you still on your world record hunt? I feel like that was like your thing for a while.
It was so that's my world record update for this one. There was a few that I've missed in the meantime, like Mondo and the pole vault. Does that count? I mean,
I thought you were canceling all field events for the
yeah,
rest of time, so I guess not.
yeah. I mean, he's broken the world record a couple times, but not this past weekend. So I won't give him any due at the moment. I also don't love that whenever he breaks the world record, he breaks it by like just a smidge and then stops. Like,
Yeah.
go
Just so you can
all
keep
out.
doing it.
Go all. I know because he's broken the world record like 10 times over the
And it's like
last
his own, right?
yeah.
Always.
It's always his own world record he breaks. Go, man, just go for it, man. Break it by 6 inches. Come on, man.
And he's young, right? He still has lots of time to just
Yeah,
keep doing this
he'll have
forever and
25
ever.
world records before this is over. Because it's one of
Wow.
the few times you can break the world record and just stop. This in the high jump, right? You don't have that option in a running event. You don't necessarily know exactly what your time's going to be, or the shot put, or any of these other
Right.
fake field events. You don't, when you throw it, you can't just take a little bit off to say, I'm going to just go a little bit past my world record, where he does the world record jump and then stops, jumps around, celebrates, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I don't know
Oh
why
my gosh.
I don't know why I'm so salty today.
I was saying Mondo hater. I thought he was like a beloved field athlete here.
He is. He's one of the most popular athletes, too.
Yeah, what in the
I'm
world?
probably on the wrong side of this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shall we
Yikes,
go?
moving on.
Yeah, let's go into Western states. You care about Western states at all?
Uh sure. I know
Yeah.
you watched. Did you
Yeah.
watch?
Well, I did watch a little bit of it, but it's 14 hours long.
Yeah.
And by the way, my first comment is about the coverage. Horrible.
I mean, I bet.
Yeah, and the problem is the technology lets them down. So like the top 5 people on the course, it's like one of the guys' chips isn't working. So the leaderboards are all electronic. So they're showing the leaderboard. It's only got 4 of the really top 5 people, but the guy in second, he's now showing in like 10th. So it's like, oh man, can you fix the leaderboard manually? They cannot fix the leaderboard manually.
Oh jeez.
And they're out there in the middle of nowhere, so the coverage keeps cutting out. They're going to various correspondents at the various water stations, and anyway. So let's give the person who won his due and her due. The winner was Caleb Olson for the men's side, 14 hours 11 minutes, second fastest time in history. He missed the record by 2 minutes, the overall record.
Okay.
All right. Abby Hall was the winner on the women's side, 16 hours, 37 minutes, fourth fastest in history. That is my update. It didn't have any of the big name women.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And so the one person who didn't win for the men was Killian Journeau, who had won back in 2011, maybe one of the more famous ultra runners, has won UTMB 4 times, if not more. So he was third overall.
Oh
That's
wow.
my
Okay.
Western States update. That is the most famous ultra marathon in the U.S. and maybe the second most famous overall. I'm not sure.
And we are not covering ultras because we don't know enough about them.
Well, I don't know enough about the distance women runners either, so that doesn't stop. All right. Last thing I've got for you is terrible fathers.
Oh no.
Yeah, terrible fathers. Here's your choice for voting for most terrible father. I'm sure that's poorly worded. Number 1 nominee is Jakob Ingebrigtsen's father, who was convicted of assaulting his daughter / not Jakob's daughter, but
his own daughter.
Yeah, his own daughter, which is Jakob's sister. Gerhardt is his name, but he only received a 15-day suspended sentence. Now he was acquitted of some of the more serious charges of abuse. So he really was just convicted of assault. It seems like assault is just as bad as abuse, but I don't know. Apparently in the legal minds, it's not. Um, they do have 7 children. Maybe his defense was he only abused one of them. I don't know.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah,
god.
sorry, only assaulted one of them. Did not abuse, just assaulted. All right.
Yikes.
So that's nominee number one.
Okay, there's
All
more?
right. Nominee number two is um, a 49-year-old father was banned for life for providing testosterone to his 16-year-old son as part of the Junior Olympic track meet. And the son was now banned for 2 years. So that's my second nominee for Terrible Father of the Year award. And the final nominee
Oh no, there's more?
was yes, there's one more nominee. This is the final one.
Oh,
Uh, a father broke the world record in the stroller competition. Okay.
I saw that actually.
Yes, he broke it. He ran so this was in the mile. Speaking of mile records, right? He ran 4:26. By the way, Faith Kipgon would have beaten him handily,
Hmm.
and he ran it with a stroller with a 2-month-old baby. You know what the
That baby
problem
was
with?
little.
Yeah, you know what the problem with that is? You're not supposed to run with a baby that's only 2 months old. Even the stroller company says they need to be 6 months or older. So that's my third nominee for Worst Father of the Year. Now, I will say he is running on a track. It is a pretty smooth surface. I would imagine the reason they put those caveats out there that they should be 6 months old is because of the jostling, and that is the reason why. I'm
Hmm.
not a doctor, but that's my professional opinion. And with a smooth track surface, you probably don't get a lot of jostling. So, there's not like this potholes. So I'll give him a little bit of a break, but he's still in the nominee category of Worst Father of the Year. So um, your choices and your vote goes to the winner is.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the first two are going to tie for number one. And because I think doping your kids is probably considered abuse, just like assaulting your kids that you coach is also abuse. And this is also abuse of power because not only are you being a bad parent, but you're being a bad coach and you're coaching your kids, which is just bad too. And I've talked about this before. Um, so yeah, I feel like don't even get me started on all of that as always. But and you know me as like a parent of a young person, I'm like, oh, we can't parent shame because I get so, I don't like when they do it to me. But no, I saw that video actually when I was putting my son to bed, and I was like, oh wow, that is like a very, very small baby. And I saw that he had like a little, like I think it's basically like a car seat in, it had like the car seat attachment in the running stroller. And then he had like it looked like more padding around his head to like keep his head still. Because I was also thinking, I'm like, usually when you see this, you see older kids and they're wearing like helmets and stuff just in case, like, God forbid, they need a helmet. Yeah, I was shocked. I didn't know he was 2 months old, but I knew he was very little. And I do remember that from running with a stroller back in the day, that like you aren't supposed to do it for a long time because of the jostling. And then it's like you always have to have them in like the car seat part if you're that little. Yeah, and then, part of me also just gets like annoyed because I'm like, what is he doing running around with a 2-month-old baby trying to set a record? Like, why? I don't know. Something that just feels annoying. And I saw they were doing the whole video, and like before he's running, I get that he had to warm up and stuff, but like the wife is there holding the baby, trying to like soothe him and stuff. And I'm like, man, what is this?
Yeah,
Just to be a spectacle. Like, it's not like you're running like with the baby out of necessity. Your wife's there holding him. You don't have to be running with this baby. Like,
so
annoying.
apparently you said it's a tie, but based on your comments, it feels like you're really hating on the guy with the stroller more than anybody.
Oh, I know. And that's just probably because it's like easier to do that. Sorry, Dad, with the baby stroller, because I am also a baby stroller runner. And actually ran with my not so baby today to the Y to go to the pool after you left today. And
So the testosterone pumping father and the towel snapping father, they get off like with a clean slate with you. You're gonna
no,
trash the
no,
guy with the
no.
stroller.
No. I think if you go back a couple episodes when you first said the story that he was, I think it was when Jakob must have
Was in court.
given his testimony or whatever, and I went on a whole thing about how parents shouldn't even be allowed to coach their kids and blah 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 blah. So no, okay, sorry. Just to be clear, How dare you? Was it really towel snapping? Was that what he got in trouble for?
I think he snapped the towel and hit her in the face. I don't know
Oh
how
my,
she. I don't know how else you hit someone in the face with a towel. Could you just throw it? That really isn't abuse.
oh my gosh. Okay, now he's really getting off. We don't condone abuse. What are you saying? No, he sounded like he was a bad dad anyway, and we'd already talked about that episodes ago. I'm glad he's getting in trouble. I hope he's not allowed to coach his children or anyone's children ever again. Um, yeah, yikes. And then no, I hope that dad who doped his kid is not even allowed to be around his kid anymore because that is
They didn't take
nutty.
it. It didn't say that they took his children away from him. So
Okay, well they should. I mean, I get that he's 16 and that does feel a little different than if he was like 10, but what are you nuts? Like that's the craziest thing ever. Like, do you not read anything about anything ever? It just no, that is so crazy to me that he did that.
uh,
What was it for? Was it what sport? Running?
I was running. Yeah, he was running the Junior Olympics cross country championships.
Is he amazing at running or
Well, he was in
like
the
is he just
championship,
average?
so and you put a little testosterone, maybe you're a little bit better. Maybe a little bit better. Just a little bit. That's all you needed. You just needed a little bit of testosterone to get over the top.
Right. Not only are you like physically messing with a child and their development and growth during puberty, like that is also just a crazy thing to do, but like imagine the psychological things that you're also doing to him that like no, I don't believe in you enough that you could just work hard and be amazing. Like I have to now cheat for you to be amazing. Like on just so many levels you're messing up your kid. So yeah, bad dads all around.
All right,
What a
three
negative
award winners.
episode.
It's a tie. Three people get the award this year. Okay, I'm going to close this out with. Did you see that Tariq Hill beat Lyles in
um
100 meters?
Okay, I'm sick of this. I am sick of the nut. You know me, I'm always saying like, "Oh, I clicked on this stupid article that said something that wasn't really true." What kind of nonsense? How did this even happen that he's racing Noah Lyles' brother or whatever? Is it actually his brother?
Yeah, Josephus Lyles, and it's his younger brother, and yeah, yeah, it was a terrible, and it really wasn't a full article. It really was just a link to a bunch of stuff, but it did seem like it was like, oh, I'm sorry, he beat Lyles, and then okay, Josephus Lyles, and then it was. By the way, they finished like 6th and 12th.
Right.
It wasn't even like they were first and second. That was buried. It wasn't. So he finished. So Tariq Hill finished 6th in that event, and he didn't show up for the finals. And if he had run the finals, his time would have been like 12th. So again, and these were guys that I don't know, never heard of, not in the top 10 list on USA's 100-meter men. So yeah, I'm sick of it too. I don't know why I brought it up, other than to rant on it just a little bit more, because I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan right now of Tariq or of Noah Lyles. He didn't even do anything in this story except for have a brother. But yeah, I'm still mad at Noah Lyles. So
And I'm gonna take back all the bad dad, not all the bad dad stuff I said, some of it. And you know what? Tyreek Hill's gonna get worst dad of the year forever. Does he not have children? Is that not one of the things he got in trouble for? Yeah, worst dad goes to him on this episode.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know his background and father and son
I think that was
scenario.
part of his troubles was not only like being not nice to women. I believe there may have been kids involved too. So I'm gonna go with that.
Well, given that you're hating on everything, you want to just throw some WNBA stars under
Oh
the
my god.
bus too, like because I know you hate on them. Even though I'm a defender of the WNBA, that they're amazing athletes.
Oh my
That you're,
gosh.
yeah. So anyway, so let's stop there. Let's not go any further before you get a bunch of hate mail from.
Yeah, I'm not gonna link the email to this episode. Please don't come for me. Oh, actually, 5 stars, and then you can say whatever you want. I won't read it, and maybe I will, and I'll cry for days because that's my personality. While we're saying this, I was trying to think of anything positive to end it on. I got nothing except for I will go watch the 1500 from the pre-classic, and I'm sure there'll be other things because it goes. Is it going on tomorrow too? Tomorrow is
I
on
don't
Sunday.
think so. I think today was the event. I'm not
Oh
sure.
well, I will go watch some highlights, watch some amazing athletes. I do have to catch up and watch the whole Breaking4 thing. No, yes, it is Breaking4. Watch all of that stuff just because, again, it's nice to see whatever they had going on. And, you know, watching fun things about track is always good to kind of get into and, you know, maybe shift the energy.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a few things coming up, right? We have the U.S. Championships coming up in, I think, 8 days, somewhere in that range. And we have the World Championships this year coming up in 2 months. So, you know, there's a lot more to come on track and field. I love it. We love it.
Yeah. So whenever we get some more topical time to do an episode, we will update on those races. Otherwise, you will just be getting other nonsensical running things from us. And I'm sure we might have like World's Worst Whoever's awards next time.
Worst moms next time.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. But anyway, 5 stars and subscribe, and tell all your friends to subscribe. And leave mean comments on the YouTube, I guess.